Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gents. My name is Miguel, aka Mighty Migs, and today we have another special episode of Passion for Acting podcast, and we have the return of Chelsea Widdicombe.
Hello,
How are
hello. Thank you so much for having me back on the Passion for Acting podcast, Miguel.
Well, it's always a pleasure. You're a very nice girl, and I'm actually keen to hear her top 5 movies of all time because the last couple of times we had something like this where it was my mate Hassan, a bit too much testosterone, but now a little bit of estrogen needed because a bit of femininity because we do have some viewers and listeners who are like ladies as well. So let's entice them with that as well. But before we go further ahead, I'd like to mention that the podcast episode sponsor is Sydney Actors Association. So if you're an actor looking to sharpen their craft in any way, shape, or form, please visit the Instagram page in the description box below, which is Sydney Actors Association. And yes, you heard it from her. And if you are one of those actors looking to sharpen their craft and be around people who are like-minded and surrounded by good coaching, not just by Sam, but a few others, this could be the right place for you, and tell them that Miguel or even Chelsea sent you, okay? But without further ado, Chelsea, you know what? This is your time to shine once again. I'd love to hear your top 5. You can start from maybe number 5 to number 1 or number 1 to number 5, but it's up to you. But I'd recommend the first suggestion, yeah?
Okay, I don't know what my order says about me, but we'll get into it. But first of all, I'll just say hi. I'm Chelsea Widdicombe. I'm an actor and voiceover artist in Sydney. My background is also in interior design and decoration as well. So lots of fun, colourful stuff going on in my world. The first movie, though, that I want to talk about is, look, we've just kind of come out of the Christmas season, the silly season, and all of the movies that I want to talk about today, all the films, are movies that I could watch again and again. That's how, when I was picking them, I thought each of these has to be something that I would be like, someone says, "Do you want to watch this?" And I will always say yes. And so my first one is Love Actually, the iconic Christmas movie.
Okay. Is that number 5 or is that number 5 or is that number 1?
Well, these are just like top 5. I feel like they're all different. They're just in my top 5 for different reasons because all my 5 movies are all very different. So
awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Let's just keep it in a bubble of 5, I think. Okay.
Cool.
But this movie, it's an English movie, so you've got all the English humour in there. You've got a fantastic ensemble cast, and we're in a world where Hugh Grant is the Prime Minister. So, it's just fantastic. Have you've seen the film?
Yes, I have. Sam actually recommended that to me last year, only because he was getting me to prepare for this monologue where, long story short, it's like a 3-minute monologue, a lead up to proposing to his girlfriend, so, and to get me to understand the context, he got me to watch Love Actually. And I think, for me, my favorite bits is towards the end, when the little boy was chasing after that American girl in the airport.
Yeah,
and,
sweet,
it's, yes. And even when Colin Firth's character was actually in Portugal proposing to that, beautiful Portuguese girl. It's a beautiful moment. It's one of the best feel-good movies that I've ever watched, even though it's not my genre. I like it. But what about you? What's your favorite scene or scenes?
Look, I love Colin Firth. I love what he brings to his characters, and it's just like the goofiness, the Britishness, the warmth. So I do love that scene as well. I also love where Hugh Grant's playing the Prime Minister David, and how he ends up with his beautiful tea lady and everything, and it was just such a beautiful and honest romance between them. But my favourite quote, it comes from the beginning of the film, and it's, when you think about it, love actually is all around. And the movie starts and ends at the airport, and it's just such a lovely moment of people being reunited with loved ones. And it's a film, I probably have watched it already twice this year. I actually watched it this Christmas, and then I've watched it throughout the year because it's always a feel good, even though some of the stories in the film itself are quite sad. A lot of the moments, like the one story with the character Sarah and the Spanish guy, that you can see how much they both love each other, but it just never works out for them. And it's so tragic and so sad, but it actually kind of adds to the film in a way as well. So it's a message of hope, love. You know, you've got the real comedic effects in there with Rowan Atkinson doing the gift wrapping. And actually, because I work in retail as well, I have for a long time, in a homeware shop, and we have a big Christmas section, and it's quite fun working there in the Christmas season because everyone's all excited about Christmas decorations. And whenever a customer's being a bit irate, and like I've wrapped something up and put it in a bag for them, and they're like, no, I don't want a bag. My response now is the Rowan Atkinson response is, this is not just a bag. This is a special bag. And it just, not everyone gets it, but it gets me through the day. And so I think if a film has that effect on you and the people in your life, then it's done a good job.
Yeah, you're actually in a bit of a thrill when you watch that bit, especially for the first time, right? Because sadly, you know, the guy who's buying that thing is actually trying to hide something from his wife. He's been cheating, yeah. So I know what you mean, that, you know, not every part of the whole movie is actually happy clappy or just like a good moral or whatever you call it. I don't condone adultery in any way, shape, or form, you know. So you know, personal experiences, but you know, that's for another topic. But the thing is, there's got to be some part of the movie that's a bit sad and not as happy, you know, because even though the balance isn't correct, but it's overall a great movie to watch if you want to feel good. But there's some bits like what you said, like that Spanish guy and that the Sarah character was didn't work out. Yeah, it's a bit sad, but you know what? That's life in general. You can have your ups and downs, yeah. So what I do like about that movie is that, you know, because it's just like, you know, watching a nice martial arts movie, you feel like it's so pretty. But in this context, it's just like, it seems like love is just like, you know, pain-free. But the sad part is, in real life, love isn't pain-free. There's a lot of ups and downs, you know what I mean? For those of you guys watching, it's all around. Yes, love can come in different forms, not just in romance, but it can come in the form of like loving your mother or your father or your niece, your nephew, or your cousin, or like your best friend, you know what I mean? Maybe that's Caitlin Lopez. Just kidding.
Katie.
Yeah. I think she's listening to this. Yeah. She's your best friend and vice versa. Yeah, but yeah, it's a good message overall, and I do like how it's good balance of characters, like an ensemble. If I had to choose one character that I appreciate the most, I'm just saying this in the moment, but you know, Liam Neeson's character, how he's actually the stepdad of that little boy. The little boy's sad and depressed for no reason, and he's just trying to find out. Look, I mean, you know, your mum just died. Now I've got the sole custody of you, responsibility looking after you, raising you. Now you got to tell me what's going on. And then you realize, okay, he's in love. Yeah, we've all been there. You know, so we've all been there where you're in love with somebody. You can't stop thinking about him. And it giving you anxiety. Oh man, what if it doesn't work out? What if it works out? All that stuff. But you know, this is the little kid, you know, so that's why he was able to support him in so many ways. But what about you? What do you think about that relationship between them two characters?
I really love that one. I think Liam Neeson portrays his feelings so honestly, and his love is so expressive, and he just, like, you know, when he finds out that the kid's in love, he's like, oh, thank the Lord, you know, in his Irish accent, because he's like, we can deal with this.
Yeah, he's letting him know that it's actually minor. Hey, look, this is not a bad thing. This is a good thing. You know? We can work through this together. It's lovely. But one of my favourite actually storylines in that is the Billy Mack storyline. That, you know, the film opens, we've been to the airport, and then it's, you know, the crazy singer, Christmas is all around. Oh, that's right. I feel it
in my fingers. I feel it in my toes. Feel it in my toes.
And at the end, like in the airport, he's doing that sleazy kind of like, and he's just taking off his pants, and he's just like that with I mean, we're assuming he's wearing undies, but he's actually just like playing the guitar like that with
it's just no so shirt iconic. On. You talk to any English person, that's probably why Sam from you know, our acting teacher's been so, because he's English, and I feel like he's just like, oh, I love this, the English humour, all of that. So
yeah, I know what you mean. He's a very Pom guy. I mean, he's somewhat Aussie, but I think he's more Pom than he is Aussie. So, but I love Sam.
My grandfather's English, and whenever he's been on the phone to his relatives in England or his brother or whatever, the accent's so much stronger. So I think watching movies that kind of share the culture and have the accents and everything like that. It only makes you more of that. So
Yeah. Hey, Sam, I know you're listening to this. Chelsea and I love you to death. We appreciate you helping us become better actors. Yeah. So I didn't mean to put words in her mouth, but we appreciate your tutelage. Anyway. Yes. Anyway, so you want to say anything else about Love Actually, or you want to move on to your
I
next?
think it speaks for itself, that one.
Exactly. But anyway, tell me more, please. I mean, tell them more, the audience.
Next movie.
Yes, it's
Next
up to you
movie.
though, because remember this is your time to shine.
Yes. Okay, next one is The Mummy from 1999 with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
That
And what's her name again? The lady who plays as his girlfriend or wife. Oh, Rachel Weisz. Yeah, Rachel Weisz or
Weisz, yeah,
Weisz.
she's the
Yeah.
librarian.
Yes. Daniel Craig's wife in real life.
Yeah, there you go. There's always a link to Bond. That is quite, it's an adventure movie. It's fun. It's got so much. Like, I remember thinking The Mummy, oh, that seems like a really scary movie. I don't know if I can watch that. And then I remember watching it and going, this is the funniest movie I've seen in my life. It's a great, again, it's kind of like the English versus the American in this, because they've got like the English professors and then they've got the Americans who are just like cowboys and things like that. And it's just one that I could, again, it's a movie that I can always go back to, I can always watch, as well as being like a fun and adventure, and essentially is a really good romance story as well between our two main characters in that film. And it's got the like ancient Egypt feel to it, so it's got the like a bit of exoticness to it. And then again, because he is our main character is such a iconic hero, American, he's got his guns, whatever, and then she's like, I am a librarian, I know my books and everything, and it's just like the perfect balance with that.
Yeah, I agree, because that was when Brendan Fraser was when he was best looking. Like, and it's sad what happened to him recently, but he's bounced back somehow. But I can respect him for what he's went through, and he's just stayed resilient. And now he's just trying to get his health back on track and whatnot, because he had a horrible divorce where his wife left him in the middle of a dark time and whatnot. But you know what? I appreciate him or anybody going through something like that, just pushing forward. So none of us. I assume you haven't been divorced, because you don't think you've been married either. So we can only imagine the pain of divorce and whatnot.
Yeah.
But one thing I do like about his character in that movie is how American he is. Like, and then he ends up falling in love with the English librarian, and then the librarian had a brother at the end. Remember how they were kissing, and then ended up almost kissing the camera. Oh, I don't want to kiss you or something like that.
Kiss you. Oh yeah, because it's like they're going off romantic in the sunset. And then on the camels and everything, and then Jonathan the brother's just trailing behind, and how about a kissy wishy?
That's right. Yeah, because I haven't seen that movie in more than a decade. I'm not big on it, but I didn't mind watching it. When it first came out on DVD or VHS. I mean, I think it might have been VHS when it first came out.
Probably.
I mean, this is when I don't think you were even born in 1999, were you?
I was born in 99.
Oh, you were born 99. Okay, oh crap. Okay, that's my bad. So, wow. So you're the same age as my godson Aaron. But anyway, so we'll talk about that later. But the good thing is that that was like the revolutionary, the special effects. That's when the special effects went to over the top, like what it is now.
No, not like they are today. Very different.
Yeah, that's right. And then the guy who's playing the mummy, I think he's an Arab guy, or Mediterranean, or maybe.
Yes, that's right. He's like a real big guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
There's a lot of good characters in it. Again, I do like movies that have a love story, have humour to them, and also quite an ensemble cast as well. Because you've got like our two main characters, but then you've got like all the like the protectors of the ancient land, and you've got like the professors and then the Americans. Like there's so many, and there's Benny who's on who's that guy from the beginning of the movie. He was always, just doing random stuff as well. And I know a lot of people, when they're trying to do like a low status comedic character, they'll look to Benny from The Mummy as their inspiration.
Yes, 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 yeah. It's been a while since I've watched that movie. Thanks for reminding that. So I might even watch it. I mean, the sequels weren't as good in my opinion, but you have to
Yeah,
judge it
look,
for yourself.
no, but they're still fun.
They're still good.
I feel like there's a lot of movies kind of from that era where they were fun adventure kind of movies, and I haven't really found, because that is like quite an old movie now. That's like 25 years old at least.
It's a different generation,
And
like generation ago.
when I was thinking about movies that I like, so many of them are old. Like another one that I was thinking of was Romancing the Stone. Like that was from the 80s. And they're kind of like these adventure fun movies where they end up in some exotic location or something, and there's a quest that they've got to follow. That's actually why I really loved this series on Netflix at the moment, Outer Banks, because it kind of is reminiscent of those kind of movies that I love and that my parents brought me up on. Actually, is there's these teenagers and they're searching for the gold, or they're searching for some treasure that people didn't even realize was real. So I've loved that series because it's kind of a modern twist on, and it just gets you. Like I watched this show Outer Banks on Netflix, and the whole time I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And
what's the name of the show again? What's the name of the show?
It's called Outer Banks. OBX.
Out of Banks.
Outer Banks. Yeah.
Out of Banks. Okay.
Outer Banks
I'll
on
look
Netflix.
it up later.
Yeah. And it's, I think they're up to season. What season did we just have? 4 or 5 or something. But it's just a real adventure show, and I think it's a real credit to all of the movies that I grew up on. So I enjoy it in that aspect. But it also that thriller aspect to it too. I mean, it doesn't take a lot for me to get kind of frightened. I'm always like, and like I even do that in The Mummy, even though I've seen it so many times. Like when you see The Mummy, kind of go, every time it gets to me. So
nothing beats the first time watching something like that. I mean, in most cases anyway. So yeah, but it's good. It's good because like if you don't feel that way, then it's a crappy. It's a crappy TV show or movie, you know what I mean? Because if you think like, predictable, it's like, you just wasted half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour and a half of your own time, when you could have been more entertained. But if you feel that way watching a TV show or a movie, then you know what, you get your money's worth. You know what I mean? You get your time's worth. So because time is more precious than money, because time's something you can't get back. And you want to watch these things because, like in more than anything, because one thing I admire about the lady, you ladies, when it comes to biology, is that you love the thrill. You know what I mean? Whether it's romance or watching a movie or workplace, it's something like that. Ladies love a thrill. You know what I mean? And in a good ways and bad ways, but I'm going to stick to the good ways. So in a way, it's good because it's just like when you're watching something like that. The less predictable it is, the more you're hooked into it. What's going to happen?
Yeah. I suppose it's like the difference. It's like your fight or flight or freeze responses. We have these responses in our body, from the brain and everything, and it's not always a bad thing to be stressed. For example, like you're driving and you brake really hard. It's your stress response, and that's like good stress. So if a movie can attach itself to your flight and fight and freeze responses, then I think it's working. So for me, going back and watching The Mummy and being able to feel, basically every time I watch it, I get those feelings. So I don't know what it is that I can just rewatch things and it almost be like I've never seen it before, but almost like reassuring because I know it's a happy ending as well. So because I am a sucker for a happy ending. I love the riding off into the sunset. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah, I know, because even some of the best movies don't really have that good happy ending either.
No, they don't. And they are brilliant. And, being in the industry and studying acting and just for the love of stories, I do appreciate them. But part of me just loves Hallmark movies and Lifetime movies for that sense of them being so happy and predictable at the same time. As, life can be so stressful and, we're so incredibly busy going from one thing to another that sometimes you just want to come home and watch a film where it's happy and feel good. And for me, that's when I go onto like the Good Channel and the Hallmark Channel and find these movies where as soon as the movie starts, you know exactly what's going to happen, but they're just so feel good. And like over Christmas, I've watched so many of these, and so have so many of my girlfriends have been watching these like fun Christmassy movies where, you know, they're at the Holiday Inn and it's decorated so gorgeously for Christmas, and, you know, then you meet your two hero characters and the romance unfolds, something bad happens and then it sorts itself out. There's this formula, but it's like cliches are cliches for a reason, and you know, it's nice to do things just for the joy of it. It's like I grew up dancing and I love dancing, but I never did competitions because I never, this is something like my mum taught me, but she was like, it's so important to do things because you actually enjoy it, rather than sometimes when you put a competitive edge to it or you're doing it for something, you lose the love for it. And so I think it's really important that when I'm watching films or when I'm doing my own acting and my own podcasts and things like that, is that I never lose the sense of fun that comes with it, and always keep sight of that.
I guess it is contextual, and I appreciate how, like, you know, you want to make it fun rather than competitive, because some people are the other way around. They want to make it more competitive to make it fun. But in the course of, like, let's say amateur or professional combat sports like fighting, like boxing or mixed martial arts, like, you know, fighting in the UFC, you have to have a competitive edge to be doing that. But in our case as actors, we have to have a competitive edge in terms of, like, you know, I'm going to audition hard. If I get the role, I'm going to even work harder, because in my opinion, the harder bit is in general anyway, in the beginning, is actually the audition. You know what I mean? Because like, you know, you have to make a good impression. But once you get the role, if you get the role, hypothetically, the hard work only begins like when you start filming, because it's going to be sometimes very strenuous, like, you know, long, take after take, I'm not going to preach to the choir here, because, like, you and I know what it's like to sacrifice. We have to have the competitive edge. But in this case,
you have to have that something in your core that pushes you along to it. But what actually helped me with my perspective with auditioning was I was watching The Great Kiwi Bake Off, and it was like I was at home sick and I put it on, and it was the most wholesome, gorgeous TV show. Reality TV you usually think is pretty brutal. But what inspired me with my acting with that was one of the bakers was struggling to get their dish out on time, and some of the other bakers then stepped in and helped. And they weren't like, yes, they were all still competitive, but they did it from a space where we're all different. We're all producing different dishes. We all have our own creativity, our own looks, our own flair. So we will help and lift each other up, rather than seeing someone fall and crumble and their cake fall on the floor or whatever. And I was like, it's exactly the same with acting. You know, we have to embrace who we are, what we can bring to the table, and look at our fellow actors as that as well. You know, we're all creative beings, and if we can just be kind to each other and uplift each other, you'll find that people actually are very kind and do want to see it succeed. It's not as if you have to give away everything and, you know, not hold things close to your heart sometimes, but it was just the idea that we're all just people, and kindness goes a long way.
I agree. Look, before we move on to your next movie, I mean, I can sort of relate to that. Even though you and I as individuals can't actually please everybody, there's only so much we can help people. There's only so much types of people or different people that we can help, because one thing I've learned the hard way is that we have to help ourselves and respect ourselves first before we respect others or just help other people, because that's just a practical thing.
That's the flight attendant thing. Put your mask on before you help someone else.
That's right. Or just like, being a personal trainer, I have to practice what I preach. I need to stay in shape.
Absolutely.
How can would you train with a fat personal trainer? No offense to the fat personal trainers out there, but there's a lot of them out there. So there's a lot of them out there, which you'll be surprised. But I mean, you wouldn't want to train with a fat personal trainer, would you? Be honest.
I don't do personal training. I
know, but just
I do my
hypothetically.
dancing and my yoga, and that's it.
But hypothetically, you wouldn't, would you?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm not going to force you to answer that then, this year, but it's all good, yeah. Anyway, so what's your next movie?
My next movie, I'm keeping the romance trail going on here. I have a Netflix film that came out in 2023, and it's called Love at First Sight. And again, this is a beautiful romance story, and again, it connects the American storyline and the English storyline really well. Our characters meet again at the airport. There's something about airports, isn't there? And being romantic or something. Anyway, the two characters meet at the airport, and essentially they end up on the same flight next to each other, and they have this beautiful connection. And so we do have this beautiful love story playing throughout the whole film. But what's so lovely again is the ensemble cast, because the man in the love story, he's traveling back to his mother's funeral, but his mother's not actually dead yet. They did a funeral where the whole family was there so that they could say goodbye, so the mother could say goodbye to all her loved ones and actually see them, because so often families, lose someone, and it brings everyone together, and everyone's spending this beautiful time together sharing stories, and you often think, wow, like no one's actually, wouldn't it be so lovely if this person was here in person, physically hearing all of this, even though, they might be looking down spiritually, but it was so beautiful for the family, and I had tears in my eyes the whole time. It was such a beautifully done scene, and it was so colourful and so creative, because the parents were really fun, eclectic people, but it was the most heartbreaking, beautiful scene, and that really just made the movie for me, because it was just so much about human connection, and again, that we're all just people, and we're all, you never know what that person who pushed in front of the line in front of you to get coffee, you don't know what they're going through, and it just increases your perspective on things. And there was a narrator through it doing voiceover. There was so much going on, and it had a really beautiful eclectic aesthetic, with all the fashion in the movie. The actors were all absolutely brilliant and so likable, but so real. I remember watching that movie, and it was just such a beautiful movie, and I think so many people would enjoy it, actually. And it was produced by Matt Kaplan, and I looked at what other movies he produces, and he produces a lot of fun romantic movies, a lot of kind of things that I would like. So it's really nice when you find a film that you like and go, oh, there's this whole genre of it that exists. This is amazing. So
I never heard of that movie until now. That's awesome, actually. So I might look it up. Doesn't look like my kind of movie. Doesn't sound like
I
it.
know.
But
I remember saying that to. I said that to my brother, because I watched it on my own, actually. But I said to my brother afterwards, I said, you would love this, because again, having that bit of English humor in there, I know my brother would appreciate. And it is a beautiful romance, but I think it was just about human connection and love, and there was so much going on. I'm like, no, you really would enjoy this film, James. Get involved. I'm pretty good at guessing what films people will enjoy, and I'm like, come on. And then as soon as I recommend something, like whether it be a TV show, they'll be obsessed with it and say, oh, and then they're recommending it to everyone. I'm like, see, look what I've done.
Sure, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? You made somebody's day, you made somebody's week. So your brother James, isn't that your brother's not James Bond, is he? I'm just kidding.
I'll never know.
You never know. So you would have been Chelsea Bond instead of Chelsea Widdicombe. But anyway, so the good thing about that is, I know, pretty cheesy, right? What I just said. But anyway, so you just made his day. Now he's actually looking forward to actually coming home. Oh, I can't wait to watch, Love at First Sight now. Thanks, sis. You made my day. You made my week, or whatever you call it. You made my year. So, it is what it is.
See, that's the power of a film,
The power of a film, yeah. Because just like, one of my clients at the gym, just a couple of weeks ago, she ended up recommending me this new TV series. It's not new, but it's been at least a few years old. It's called The Taxi Driver. It's actually it's a South Korean vigilante type of series, and those are the kind of movies that I like to watch. Because obviously vigilante is like practically a guy or a group of people who are actually acting like cops when they're not like cops. They're taking justice into their own hands. And I could see myself playing those kinds of roles in the future, and because and then that's why I could relate to it, and I enjoy it. There's some drama and character development or story development in each episode, and it explains why certain things, like this vigilante for hire, needs to do something. Like he wants to find out why the victims are getting bullied or getting harassed or whatever you call it. So then it just gets you intrigued, and it makes you want to see the bad guys. Oh yes, come on, get them! Like
Vengeance will be mine.
vengeance, yes, and in real life, vengeance is the Lord's, and that's what we have to do. But when it comes to this fictional kind of things, it's actually okay. I don't think it's a sin to actually like go, yes, get him, get him. So get him for killing your sister or your mother or whatever you call it, or bashing your best friend or whatever you call it. So yeah, I like that. But in this case, what do you call it? Love at first sight. It sounds like it's is it a feel good kind of series or what?
Yeah, it was definitely a feel good, and I really like the point that you said before with Taxi Driver in watching things that you yourself would love to be part of. We're constantly got to get inspiration and the motivation to keep going on, and seeing that these kind of projects exist out there, and even the possibility of working on these in some capacity really would be a dream come true.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm not South Korean, so I'm Filipino by birth. So who knows? I could be the Australian taxi driver.
You could.
Yeah, and my favorite series on Netflix is actually called The Bodyguard. Bodyguard.
Yeah.
Not it's not Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston. No, it's actually
it's
an English one
with that English actor in it.
Mark Madden or Richard Madden.
Richard Madden, yeah.
Yeah, Richard Madden. Yeah, good-looking guy, and he plays that. The detective and the specialist protection agent very well. And it's funny how not just his work but his personal life with his estranged separation from his wife and his kids blends right in well with the actual story. So and I think for me the first couple of episodes are my favorite, especially the first one. I mean, actually the second one's just as good in my opinion, the second episode. But and I remember watching it the first time, and I was just so hooked. I couldn't stop watching it. Like the first, it's all six episodes, but it's so good, So that's all it needed. And in my opinion, it doesn't need a season 2.
Yeah, wow. Be cool.
But if it does, you know what? That's beyond my control. I'd love to watch it, but I was just so hooked within that 6 episodes. Yeah. But anyway, so we're getting off topic here because this is about you, not about my preferences. Yeah. So tell me more. What's the next movie here, Chelsea?
Next one. This is a old one again, and it's an Australian classic. It's The Man from Snowy River.
The TV series?
No, like the film. It's from, I think it's 1982, so it's quite old.
I didn't even know there was a movie of that. I thought it was
it's incredible. Again, I've watched it so many times. I was brought up on it from a family. Like if you've ever been to the Easter show, the Sydney Royal Easter show, or I think the Royal Melbourne show, any of those, they actually have based the story of the evening show off of The Man from Snowy River. It's a classic Australiana story about So it's based in the Snowy Mountains, and it's just such a classic. What I love about it actually is the music. Again, it's a love story, of course, but it's about the man from Snowy River, and it's all based on poems by Banjo Paterson as well. So there's multiple stories with a lot of the characters. Kirk Douglas is in it as one of the main characters. And he plays the American who's settled in Australia doing these cattle farming and stuff like this. And essentially there's this boy who becomes a man, and he goes and gets a job on this farm, and he falls in love with the daughter on the property. And I'll kind of leave it at that for that one, but it is truly such a beautiful Australian story. It shows the nature of Australia so well. You just look at it and it's instantly recognisable. It's got that classic kind of 80s feel to it as well. It's got beautiful instrumental music, and just knowing that it kind of has done so much for Australian farming culture, and Australia being so rural as well. It just really encapsulates that story so well.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a very not very, but like it's just a old school kind of Aussie movie where
It
it
is.
wasn't as diverse, and but I miss those days as well because like it's authentically Aussie.
Yeah.
Of course, with today's demographic, it's more diverse, and in some ways, it's actually good for someone like myself. But at the same
Mm.
time, like those are true blue dinky die Aussie type of movies, even though there's an American
Yeah, and it
character
was like
there.
set back in not like it wasn't set in the 80s either. It was, let me tell you the year that it was. So yeah, it was 1982.
Sounds like it was during that gold rush era, was it?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, it's just like that old Australiana feel. So yeah, and it was set in like rural Victoria and everything like that. Had Australian actors in it, American actors. Um, yeah, and just kind of captured the way men and women were treated so differently as well, though. Like the way the daughter Jessica's treated. She's a very intelligent woman. And she's just basically not allowed to do anything. But the one thing that she does decide is that that she loves Jim and she wants this life with this man, and how she
Mm.
makes it work and standing up to her father and everything like that. So
Very traditional, very old school. So yeah, I
yeah,
know
there's
what you
I think there's a lot you can take out of it in terms of values to life, but also history of how people have been treated, what Australia used to look like. Well, also a beautiful movie about nature and animals and what it means to be a man or what it means to be a woman.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, because
Like often
um,
they played it at the Sydney Opera House with the live orchestra as well, because it is
what is it?
yeah, because it is like such a classic Australian story, but also because of that brilliant soundtrack that it has. That has it. I don't know. It just whenever I've driven down to the snow, like to the snowy mountains of New South Wales, I can put that music on and feel like I'm in that movie, just like riding a horse in the country or something. So
That's the beauty about watching a movie you like, right? You're imagining yourself. I mean, I'm just talking as actors here.
yeah,
So you imagine yourself being that character and just like playing that character, and you get that inspiration, and
yeah.
you want to act more, So yeah, so whenever you feel like you're bored or you just feel like you're discouraged, watch that movie because it sounds like it's inspiring you more than or just as much as Love Actually inspires you. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
I know. When I was like, again, when we were preparing for this episode and I was thinking about movies, there were so many old movies that came up, and I thought, I can't talk about all of these because no one's going to know them. But also, they're just really like niche things that my parents brought me up on. It's just like things that we had on, like, yeah, VSH and like DVD and stuff like that. So, or it was like go on holidays and it was like, 5 videos to choose from, and it was the same 5 every year on holidays, that sort of thing.
Oh, okay, okay. And then, did you and your brother used to like? Is it just you and your brother as siblings, or do you have more
I have
siblings?
2 older brothers, actually. Yeah,
Okay, two older brothers. Are they protective of you? It sounds like it.
they can be. Yeah.
They can be. Okay, so did you ever have to fight? No, I want to watch my movie. I want to watch my
Oh yeah,
TV
no, no,
show.
no. I feel like having older brothers definitely made me tough. They loved like the Krusty Demons, motocross movies, and stuff like that, and I don't have seen them all. Because that's just what they're into. They
Yeah,
were action boys.
yeah,
And so
typical
I
boys.
grew up watching all of that as well. But despite having the influence of 2 very action packed older brothers, I still found respite in these beautiful romance kind of girly movies. Like, that somehow, like, even though I had the influence of all this, like, really, I could, like, considering all the influence I had growing up, I probably could have been really tomboyish, but ended up being like pretty
Girly.
firm on what I liked, loving all like these
Yeah.
girly things, and really like just that classic feminine outlook. So I don't know if that's a testament to my mum as well, but yeah, it's just interesting how that's kind of been what shone through with me is these like beautiful romances and like everything like that. And when I don't have the time to watch a movie, or so because I do a lot of driving and stuff like that, if I want to get that movie feeling, I'll put on the soundtrack. And The Man from Snowy River every year is always at the top of my like Apple Music. So
Okay, there we go.
there you
So
go.
Yeah, because like music gets the best of you. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it sounds like Sophie Ellis Bextor here, but it does. Like when I'm watching, like when I'm actually not podcasting, or when I'm actually meal prepping over the weekend, or if I'm just like cleaning my room, I'm listening to certain music that I like to listen to because it inspires me. So
Yeah.
either from like my favorite genre, which is house music, or like the old school techno that actually motivates me to work out. Exactly. See, there we go. See, and then that era was just like in the early 2000s when you were actually just a toddler yourself. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
love the early 2000s era. Oh, so much fun. Like
for
the
me it was
Love
the
Actually
90s.
era, there was a TV show, the OC era. I loved all of that.
I know, because back then there was more creativity, but hopefully the
Just
Hollywood
a
writers.
different time.
But remember, like in the past 5 or 6 years, there's been probably even longer than that. There's been a bit of a Hollywood writer's strike, and that's why a lot of the
Yeah.
most recent movies are kind of like mediocre or B grade movie standard at the moment because you got people writing them who are not even as good of a writers. But anyway, it's beyond our control, and that's why just keep moving forward with your career and your life because it is what it is. So I'm going to make movies great again. So I'm not Donald Trump, but so I'm trying to make
Make
movies
movies great
great
again.
again. Yes, action movies great again. So yeah, so that's just me. So that's why it is what it is. But yeah. Anyway, next movie I'm dying to find out what the last one is.
The last one, yeah, this one's a very special one that I forever will hold close to my heart. It is not a romance movie, but it is the first movie that I ever worked on, and it was The Invisible Man, starring Elizabeth Moss.
Elizabeth Moss, yeah, that's the one where you and I talked about this in your previous podcast episode, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, because
So
I worked on that film, The Invisible Man, directed by Australian director Lee Winnell. And yeah, so I worked as Elizabeth Moss's stand-in and picture double for that film. So all the scenes, all the lighting setups, all choreography and everything, like running through the forest, all of that, that was all me. But The Invisible Man, it's a like psychological thriller about basically this woman being haunted and hunted by this man that physically is invisible with this technology that he's created. And it was a really clever spin on the classic story from I think the 30s or something like that. But that movie, it got me into thrillers and like horror in a way that I had never experienced before. I had worked on a few TV shows prior to that, but I remember really thinking I would really love to work on a film like full time. Like that would be amazing. And I remember like going for the audition and getting measured up and really meeting all the measurement requirements that I needed. And yeah, basically then getting the notice 2 days before shooting started, like, okay, you've got to go. We're going down to Gerringong and to film and everything like that. And I had an incredible time. But that film, like I've watched it so many times and I just find it so good. Like all of the actors are so strong in that film. The story is really clever and so twisted, and it's hauntingly beautiful because it's all set in these big houses and everything like that, but it's like what was really going on. And it was a story of how we look at people and life. They might be amazing on the outside, but inside have a lot of issues. And it was just an incredible film. And everyone just gets something from that film. It's just insane.
yeah, because I remember like what I told you've had that experience and taste of what it's like to be in a top blockbuster movie, and it's addictive. You know what I mean? And you don't want to go back, but the time will come. Just when you're not the body double, but you're the main character or at least supporting actor. You know what I mean? That time will come when Chelsea Widdicombe is going to be in a billboard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I just feel so grateful for the experience, though. Like getting to work with Elizabeth Moss, who was an actor who just got in character and focused so well, and being able to watch her full time, how she does her process was an incredible experience that I just can't believe I got the privilege to experience that. And she was so lovely to me and so such a mentor. And really, she was so big on the fact that you are what you are, you can't change it. So you've got to
Mm.
embrace it. And like that's the number one thing I always think of when in the acting world or really in any industry. It's really, you are who you are. You can't
You are
change
who
it.
you
So
are. Yes.
embrace it.
Exactly. It's like like it's a profession. So when you get hired for a gig, you turn up and just do the best you can. Just like your everyday job as an interior designer. And when you work in retail, you show up to work. Same thing with acting. None of
Yeah.
us are invincible. None of us are actually like superior than the other. Because it just all comes down to attitude, and that's what makes a person great. You know what I mean? And yeah, you're one of the coolest characters, not characters, but actors and people I've ever met in my whole life. So that's why I enjoy talking to you in this context, and that's why I had no problem giving you the Elizabeth slash Nisa role in the in Orpheus. Yeah. Okay, so
Yay.
it was good, and that's why when you reached out that night, I was just like, yes, okay, cool. That just inspired me to create another character for you,
Yeah,
and
so the context was, I feel like we needed to say it, is I auditioned for you initially, maybe like a year and a half ago for a
a
role in
year
one
ago,
of your
yeah.
films.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I like you, but no, not for this part. And then we just stayed in contact. And then you had another audition notice come up, and I like messaged you right away. And I said, you have to put me in your film, basically. And you're like, I
And
love
that's
the
what
persistence.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and plus, like, you're a cool girl. I never met you in person back then yet, but it was just good because it's just like, yep, and you seem cool in real life, and I'm just gonna do it. It's because you see that the problem was is that I was looking for someone like around the same age group as Amelia, because it's just like, and because remember, like Money Penny is not that much younger than Bond in real life, not in real life, but
Doesn't
in
everyone
the
know
actual
Bond
thing.
likes the young one? No.
I know. But you know what? Look, I mean, that was what meant to be.
No, I love joking about that. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know. But it was just, I have no regrets because, like, otherwise you wouldn't have played the role of Nisa. You know what I mean? You would.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So you just like, and I vouch for you to give you more dialogue because, like, the original thing that Nathan did, he didn't have any dialogue, and I'm like, no, I'm not. She's not a stand-in double. She's not an extra. I need her to at least have a handful. Like, and I'm going to give her some of the things. And then Jeff said, yeah, just go give it to her if you want. And it's like, yeah, cool, because I don't want to waste your talents on set because it's just like you want an extra for the film. You want a stand-in double. I'm just going to make sure that your talents were actually projected, and you did a good job playing a Bond girl. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Despite the challenge for me that day was it's just like 4.5 hours sleep, and I was just like, it's hard to remember lines sometimes. It's hard to stay focused, but we made it happen. It was a
Yeah.
good thing, and Caitlin was good to work with. Jeff was good to work with, and Ruby was good to work with that day. It's one of my favorite days of filming in my whole career, not just in the whole year, but even though it's a
Wow.
passion project, it was just fun.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was a good day. I don't know. I hope you felt the same way about that as
Yeah,
well.
I loved it. Look, I always just love getting on set. There's just nothing like it. And any chance that I get to be on set, I just try to embrace and be in the moment as much as possible because you never know when you'll next be on set, and it's just such a special time. And I always come home from days of filming and going, "Wow, that was just like the best day. I just love this. Wow."
I know,
Um,
despite how tired you are, mentally tired or physically tired, just like, you know what? That I just did that because
yeah.
that's my passion. This is how I'm going to pay
I
the
love the
bills.
work. It really just comes down to the storytelling and being able to create content that, for people to enjoy and for them to see themselves in, and just it takes people away from their day. I'm so put so much emphasis on like trying to be in the moment, and I think being on set does that, but I also think watching films and TV shows can do that for you as well.
Amen, amen. Because remember, like what Sam says, I'm pretty sure he says this to you when he's teaching you. Like, when you're acting, whether it's an acting class or when you're on stage or in an actual film set, you're spending time with Dr. Theta. You're spending time
Yeah.
with Dr. Theta. You just forget about all your problems, in your daily life, or no matter what context it is. You're there to perform, because, Sam did tell us a story about one time, like, I think it was his dad who was actually, like, he was grieving one Monday, Tuesday night, or so, Tuesday morning. He had to bury his brother or his cousin or something like that. And then, later on at around 7 p.m., he had to perform at Rosalind Packer Theatre, and
Yeah.
then, he nailed the performance that night. And then a few people close to him was like, how did you perform so well while you're still grieving? And he just goes, because this is the chance for me to get my mind off my pain right now to perform.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that. You know what I mean? I can
Yeah,
relate to that.
definitely.
You can relate to that. So none of us have it all together. Some of us have more or less, like, when it comes to having it all together. But it's just, this is a passion. This is a fun thing. And this is a lot of what non-ambitious people or non-actors will never understand. You know what I mean? Like, the passion for it, because, I wouldn't say that I'm getting off topic here, but this is one of the things I don't mind doing at all. If somebody, no matter who it is toxic towards my dreams and ambitions, I'll cut them off. I'll cut them off out of my life. Yeah. I mean, I'm doing it in a rational sense, making sure that it's not just going to happen the first time. But recently, one of the trainers I used to work with in BFT, I had to cut him off because, he was just being toxic towards it, asking me all these personal questions.
It's hard to do that, but you have to have self-care and self-love for yourself, and be conscious of what you're surrounding yourself with.
Yeah. Because there's an analogy, or just there's a statement that I abide by, and, like, stay away from idiots. That includes toxic people. People who are just gonna. And that's why, like I said, when I moved around here in the North Shore, when I moved away from the Hillsong crowd and just the people who I used to grow up with in Blacktown area and all that stuff, it's a good chance for me to reinvent myself. Now I'm surrounded by a handful of people who are similar to the guy who owns this office here. He's a multi-millionaire. Nick, I love him to death. He's not only a client, but he's a good friend. Like, he's been there for me in my personal life as well. Like, when I've had trouble, like, with a few things, you know what I mean? So, that's the kind of people I surrounded myself with. And then, I don't want to talk myself up a lot in this context. I mean, in this episode. But the thing is, I genuinely care about my mental well-being, and I don't want to be around people who are not supportive. I don't want to be around people who are going to be, putting you down, or just you feel like they're getting in your gut, your nerves and whatnot. So I think it's self-care, So some people may, do that in different ways, but for me, a lot of times I just do it without letting them know, because I just got to focus on what I can control, and that's my own actions and my thinking and my decision making. That's it.
Yeah.
And I hope you can do the same thing for yourself.
Yeah. I'm a big quotes person, and a quote that I often repeat to myself is, not every day is good, but there is good to be found in every day. So in those moments where life can feel a bit hard, or, you've dealt someone who's not having a good day, and then it kind of impacts you and your energy, try to find something good in that day. Always find something to have gratitude for. And a lot of the time I'll have a laugh about it with myself and go, oh, I can put them in a character now. I could play this kind of villain or something, or I could do that now. I experienced this all day today with this person I had to work with all day, So literally turning that bad experience into something funny, or into something that and in reality too, there's so much to be grateful for always. Like, literally, is it like I had a nice breakfast in the morning or something? I really think little things can make a big impact.
Okay. Do you ever get people telling you that you inspire them as well?
I don't know. I'm conscious of who I surround myself with. But I always
has anybody ever said, "Oh, Chelsea, I love your attitude. You're inspiring me," or something along those lines? I'm assuming you've at least had a handful of people saying that to you.
I have a lot of people say things like that, in the sense where I'm a big picture person. Sometimes people get really caught up in the little details, and, like, yeah, that is important and it affects how you feel. But big picture is really important. Like, imagine like being in high school again, and it's the HSC, and it's you know, at the time it seems like the be all and end all. But I remember at the time looking at it going, got our whole lives ahead of us, and we're so worried about this moment. Let's look how well we've done and how far we've got, but also how much we have to look forward to. I think, you know, life is just beginning. And I've had friends, since a few friends from high schools who I'm still really good friends with, I've had them say, Chelsea, how did you think of that at the time? Like, how did you not get so caught up in it? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just perspective on life and looking at the big picture of what could be.
I think, from my perspective is that, you've been raised well with good parents, and you've had two brothers who actually looked after you, and you've surrounded yourself with people who are
Yeah, I've been very
like-minded.
lucky.
Yeah. So you sounds like you didn't have to deal with the toxic stuff that I've had, but which is a
Look,
good
there
thing in
is
some
always
ways.
toxic stuff around, but I'm just, I'm just very careful when something does become toxic. Like you said before, just a bit of distance and silence really say a lot. So just being aware of that, and being aware of how you feel really helps to get by.
Exactly,
It's not
because
always
sometimes,
easy either. I think we
yeah,
all have days and we all struggle, and people and their energy can really get to you. But I think it's important to talk it out, get it out, and feel it all, and do what you need to do,
hmm
so that you can then recalibrate and come back.
exactly. There's a time to say it, and there's a time not to say anything. Because sometimes just walking away in silence is actually necessary, because it's just self-respect comes first. Self-respect comes first before you respect other people, and then other people will respect you. But not everyone, sadly, is going to respect you and I as individuals. But it is what it is. But yeah, so we're going to have to end it there. So I hope you all enjoyed that. And if you haven't done so yet, please press the like and subscribe buttons if you're watching this on YouTube, and follow not just my personal pages on Instagram, but also Chelsea's personal page on Instagram as well. You could actually keep in contact and just get on track with how her acting career and her life adventures are going. So show support for her, please, because she's been a good guest, and it's been a pleasure working with her, not only this podcast, but in the previous podcast and in the upcoming James Bond short film that I've produced, which is called Orpheus, where she plays Nisa. So look forward to her shining in that as well. So yeah, so you want to say bye to the audience for us?
Thanks, Miguel. Thank you, audience. This has been lovely.
Okay. Well, until the next episode, please take care of yourselves, and Happy New Year and a belated Merry Christmas. This is Miguel, aka Mighty Migs. Adios.
Bye.